Folks keep asking me to do a video on how the US grows a lot of corn and soybeans because of crop subsidies. Here's the thing, that's not actually true. Monoculture comes from crop subsidies is literally an urban legend. That's not how agriculture works. So let's talk about what's really going on with monoculture in the United States. The US started doing a lot of what we would now call crop or commodity subsidies and similar programs back in the 1920s. But we were already all in on monoculture way before that. The Ohio Valley was full of corn monoculture and feedlots by the 1830s. The Whiskey Rebellion happened because people got land out in the far west, Pennsylvania at the time, and planted wall-to-wall corn with no real plan on what they were going to do with it. They wound up with way more corn than they could use, tried to get rid of it all by turning it into whiskey and selling it out of town, and things kind of escalated from there. The Whiskey Rebellion was one of the first things the US did when we became an independent country, and we did it with the power of monoculture in 1791, not to mention, the South. So if you really want to understand US agriculture, you got to start with knowing that monoculture has kind of always been our national pastime. The story we tell ourselves where, our farm history is everything used to be little house on the prairie type homesteads, and then industrial agriculture suddenly came out of nowhere after World War II. That's not our history. It's a feel-good story, it's romantic, it's nice, but it's not what happened. In real life, the United States has always been the place you go to get cheap bulk crops. And the way you grow lots of cheap bulk crops is monoculture. That's how we decided to farm back before we were even a country. So US farmers have never really needed subsidies or other incentives to do monoculture. That's just how we roll here. When the farm sectors started lobbying in the modern era, they asked for subsidies so they could get extra money for the big grain fields that they were already growing. So put another way, subsidies did not create American monoculture. American monoculture created subsidies. Now, let's fast forward and talk economics on today's farms. Most folks believe that crop subsidies tend to go to the biggest farms, and that's more or less true. Subsidies pay out by the acre. So the rule of thumb in agriculture is by the time you're farming enough acres that it's worth doing the paperwork to apply for subsidies, you don't really need the subsidies anymore. Subsidies don't usually change anybody's plans. They're just a cherry on top for people who are already growing a lot of big commodity crops anyway. But wait, it gets even weirder. If subsidies are the reason that US farmers grow so much corn and soybeans, then most of the corn and soybeans should be coming from the big farms that tend to get the subsidies, right? But that is not what's going on. Nearly half of the corn in the US comes from small and medium family farms, 48.47%. And for soy, small and medium family farms grow over half of it, I think about 52%. And it gets even weirder if you look at the number of farms that are growing these crops. Small and medium farms grow about half of the US's corn and soybeans, right? But think about how many small and medium farms it must take to grow the same amount of corn and soy as the bigger farms. About 85% of the US farms that are growing corn and soy are small and medium family farms. So for the vast majority of people who are farming corn and soy, it's not because they're big, corporate, or subsidized. There is something else going on here. These are small and medium family farms growing huge amounts of bulk field crops, usually in monoculture. So one thing that helps explain that, corn and soy are just very low maintenance plants to grow. I got my first real look at this when I grew corn and soybeans for the first time. I come from a fruit and veggie background, so I'm used to plants that need a lot of hand-holding. You gotta water them, make sure they have pollinators, prune, trellis. They're very hands-on. But corn and soybeans kind of grow themselves. They're not exactly planted and just walk away and come back a few months later to harvest, but they're close. And that's what makes them staple crops. Now, most small and medium-sized family farmers have a day job. And that means if that's your life, you gotta fit all your farming into the evenings and weekends. So low-maintenance crops like corn and soybeans are a perfect fit. That's why hundreds of thousands of small and medium family farms keep raising corn and soybeans, even though they're often not profitable at that smaller scale. And smaller farms don't really get commodity subsidies either. The decision to grow corn and soybeans is not about money for these folks, it's about time. And farmers like this are growing, again, about half of the US's soybeans. This is not a small phenomenon. And P.S., if you want to know more about how farms like this stay afloat financially, they don't always, but surprisingly often they do, and the way it works is wild. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd want to hear about. The bottom line, no, we do not have a lot of corn and soy because people are trying to maximize profit and chase subsidies. It's because a lot of people are trying to minimize their time. And profit is coming in second on the priority list, never mind even trying to get subsidies. Hundreds of thousands of farms are growing corn and soy because of time constraints. And that may be leading the US to grow up to twice as much corn and soy as we would if farmers were deciding what to grow purely based on profit. And that also helps explain why so much of our food is processed corn and soy. It's not just that food processors are cheap. When hundreds of thousands of farmers are growing corn and soy just because of time management, it ain't about price or supply and demand anymore. So they will keep growing corn and soy even when the prices are low. So the reason corn and soy are in everything isn't really about subsidies, it's just because that's what farmers want to grow. Then food processors have to find a way to turn the corn and soy that farmers want to grow into groceries that people want to buy. That's why corn and soy is in everything. So, to answer the many questions about crop subsidies, they have surprisingly little to do with why US agriculture is like this. So how did everybody wind up thinking subsidies explain monoculture? I kind of blame Michael Pollan for this, and I also kind of don't. Pollan wrote a lot of books about agriculture in the early 2000s. He meant well, but he is a food writer who's never worked in agriculture. He literally just had no idea what he was talking about. But his books took off because he was a really good storyteller. He came up with explanations that sounded right, as long as he didn't fact check them. And I also don't think it's fair to just blame Michael Pollan for all this, because he's only one guy. And in 20 plus years, somehow no other farm writers have ever bothered to follow up and actually check to see if subsidies cause monoculture. That is a much bigger problem than just one guy getting it wrong. Ugh. Anyway, Pollan's other stroke of genius besides storytelling was to give his readers homework. He told his readers, here's how agriculture works, and you can change it. Here's how. Spend a lot more money on better groceries, and the laws of supply and demand will carry your wishes out into the world and cause the farm economy to change for you. Except that doesn't work, because as soon as you actually look at how farmers decide how to farm and make their decisions, you would be so amazed how far down the list profit and supply and demand can be. So Pollan helped train a generation of hopeful people that the way you change the world is by shopping, ideally at nice places like Whole Foods. And instead of changing the supply chain, what they got was Amazon. It's left a lot of people frustrated, disillusioned, and at least a little bit financially drained, because a generation of well-meaning people needed real information. And what they got instead was just so stories and being marketed to. I don't want to make this go on too long, but yeah, people kept asking about subsidies and it was time to talk about it. Crop subsidies definitely have an impact on farm economics, but it's usually in more obscure ways. Subsidies are not why the US has a lot of monoculture, because there's plenty of mad lads in this country who will do that basically for free. Okay, that's it for now. Have a good day.